TFA, Fizam. How are you all doing? Hope you are doing well. Hope all is going well. It is week 10. We have more studs that are inactive. We have more weather bullshit we have to worry about. We're going to try and help you guys out as much as we can. We're going to go through these games, answer all of your questions as we get into the start of the 1 o'clock games, start of the slate. Kev, how are you feeling about this week? How's everything going? How are you?
Doing well. Doing very well. Ready for another week. Getting closer to that Thanksgiving. So it's the season's just flying by. We're only after this week we'll be 3 weeks away from the fantasy playoffs. So it's go time.
Yeah, man, it's crazy how fast this sneaks up every year. Like I feel like we can just take from the past 2 or 3 years, just that week 10 snippet and be like, hey, we're here. But it just always happens, and it never ceases to amaze me that it's happening. Just one thing that I didn't ask you this or tell you about it before we started the show, but something that I am looking forward to this week is what Tua are we going to get? You know what I mean? We have the rookie quarterback battle. Week 1, Tua had less than 100 yards passing. Week 2, he looked a lot better. I'm interested to see how he looks week 3. So that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to. And then hopefully the weather concerns that we have aren't as awful as they seem like they're going to be. There's an extra game. Looking over on Roto Grinders and their weather report, just to throw this out quick to you guys. Houston and Cleveland, looks like we're going to have the sustained winds and the stronger gusts there. So obviously that is something that's going to always impact, obviously, the deep passes, but just the passing game in general. That line has come down to 47 because of the weather concerns. Jacksonville at Green Bay, same thing here. The sustained winds of 25 miles an hour plus with the stronger gusts. And on top of that, we have the snow, the sleet, whatever's going to be going on there precipitation-wise. And then now the Cincinnati at Pittsburgh game, the wind impact, same thing. Sustained winds around 20, 30 miles per hour, gusts up to 50. So that's something to monitor there. And then also the Baltimore at New England game, 15-mile-per-hour sustained winds. And then it looks like the second half of that game could be impacted with precipitation. So another shitty weather week. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it doesn't impact it all that much. And then I'll rattle off the inactives here as well as we let some of these questions start to trickle in. Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde, Christian McCaffrey, Kenny Golladay, Laviska Shenault is out with that hamstring injury. Joe Mixon is out. David Johnson and Justin Jackson were also placed on IR. So if for whatever reason, if Duke Johnson is still sitting out there, he shouldn't be. Go snag him up. If Kalen Ballage is still sitting out there, I would look at him. And then in deeper leagues, I think you could look at Tremaine Pope as well, because obviously Pope was the one who was getting the run before he went out with a concussion that let Kalen Ballage come up and get into the game. Then we have some defensive guys who are out as well. I wish it was going to be more of an impact, but because of the weather, I'm not sure how impactful this is going to be. But Jair Alexander is out for the Packers. Kevin King is also questionable. So that would be so much more enticing if we weren't dealing with all the weather concerns there. But then Joey Bosa is out in the Chargers-Dolphins game that I was referencing earlier with Tua going up against Herbert. Other than that, not too many other defensive ones that are super impactful. Tevin Coleman out, Deebo Samuel still out for the Niners. Oh, and then for the Seahawks, you have Shaq Griffin and Quentin Dunbar are both out. So that Seattle Rams game, you definitely want to piece that. Obviously, if you're playing DFS, if you're doing any kind of betting, you want to get pieces of that as well. That looks like that's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of overs on that one, along with that Buffalo Arizona game. So kind of wraps up everything for for this week. We have a question here from Max Packard. We'll start getting into these. Max needs 3 of these receivers: D-Hop, MT, Anderson, Jefferson, AB. Obviously, locking in Hop. Going to lock in Michael Thomas. How do you feel between Robbie Anderson, Justin Jefferson, and AB? Who do you have there?
I mean, I think for me, it's going to be Robbie Anderson. Is who I would.
The other one to note there, I don't know if he's been declared out or active yet, but Carlton Davis for Tampa Bay is questionable. So that would obviously be helpful to that entire Panthers passing attack. Brees or Newton?
I would go Brees.
Yeah, I think so. I wish I could say Newton, but I'm going to roll Brees there as well. Here's one. Here's 2 tight ends that we've been talking about a bunch over the past couple of weeks. Do you want to go Mark Andrews or Austin Hooper?
If it wasn't for the weather, my answer would be it would be Mark, or it would be Austin Hooper. I love Austin Hooper in his matchup this week, but I would probably go Mark Andrews. I mean, we saw how bad this Patriots defense was last week. I mean, they just damn near lost to the Jets and Joe Flacco, right? Made Joe Flacco turn back the clock. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's Mark Andrews. I like this whole entire passing attack this week. So, and with this weather concern, I mean, it's something people should really take into consideration, because if you go and look, I mean, there's been some people that have done some like studies on this and stuff like that. But anytime there's over 20-mile-an-hour winds, like winds is the thing you should care about. Snow, rain, sleet, all that stuff. Who cares? It's the wind that really has an effect on this. And so there's never been a quarterback that's had over 30 fantasy points whenever it's been 20-mile-an-hour winds or more sustained. And so like it definitely has an effect. Like we saw earlier this year. Look at some of these games that we've had a couple weeks ago. Same thing. You know, none of the pass catchers, none of the offenses really did anything outside of the guys on the ground. So, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of avoiding a lot of these guys. I think some of the guys that you could look at, like, you know, I think Jarvis Landry, who has a really low ADOT, you know, he's certainly not somebody that's a deep threat. But any sort of guy that you're wanting to play that typically has a high ADOT that, you know, is that deep threat, and in either one of these 2 games, I'm not playing. Like, I think that's what could save Devontae Adams, is the fact that I don't care about is the fact that he is a guy who runs a lot of short and intermediate routes, and you know you typically can do that whenever it's a little bit easier of a play to get done whenever, you know, in these weather concerns. So for me, you know, I am highly concerned. Like, I loved both these 2 games. Both these 2 games this week were great games to target. Wanted to really load up on these games, but now I'm kind of off of them.
Yeah, completely agreed. It's the sustained winds. The wind gusts don't matter as much, but whenever you have the sustained winds that are, you know, 20+ mile per hour, that's what you have to watch for and really be concerned with. Max has the last set of his questions here at running back. Who do you prefer out of Damian Harris, Wayne Gallman, or DJ Dallas?
I don't particularly love any of them, but if I had to choose one of them, I think they're all kind of RB3 types, but I'd probably go DJ Dallas, especially in a standard league.
Yeah, I agree there as well. I just don't like any of those other matchups. Yeah, Carson's injury's been hurting a lot of people, Max. So best of luck to you this week. Let's go ahead and move on to New Life. Hello, gentlemen. Have PPR. Do you want Boyd or Claypool?
I'm going to go Boyd.
Yes, let's go. Jake Perms, which 2 should I start in a full PPR? Moss, Gio, or Thielen?
I'm going to go Zach Moss. And then I'm going to go Adam Thielen.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Gio. I'm with the same 2. Xenon been joining us, been seeing Xenon pop up a bunch. Appreciate you joining us. If you're checking us out for the first time, please smash that subscribe button. hit us with a thumbs up, hit us with a like as well. We appreciate all of you guys and everyone who's been doing that and helping us out and helping us grow. Chapstick 1972. Need one out of this group of receivers: Cobb, Aguilar, Amendola.
I think I would go Amendola.
With Kenny G being out?
Yeah.
It would be Amendola or Aguilar for me.
It's just the thing with Aguilar is trying to tough to trust. He's just not really seeing that many targets. Like his volume is coming all off of like I think the last couple, he's usually like 2 receptions, 3 receptions. So if he doesn't get a deep shot, it's a little bit harder to trust.
Yeah, I was gonna say Amendola for the safety. If you need a boom bust kind of guy, I think I would lean Aguilar after that.
I think Amendola is a good, really solid floor play in PPR formats. I mean, if you look at him last week, he played 65% of the snaps, ran 32 routes, but he was targeted 10 times, 7 receptions for 77 yards. Like, he's not going to be a guy, if he can find a way into the end zone, that's even better. Obviously, we know TJ Hawkinson is banged up as well, but it sounds like he's going to play. I don't think we've got an official word yet on him, but it sounds like he's expected to play. So, without Golladay, in this matchup that they're, I think I don't mind Amendola. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, agree on everything you said there. Abraham joining us. What's up, Abraham? Appreciate you jumping in as always. Who do you want at flex this week between Higgins and Antonio Gibson?
Antonio Gibson. I like Antonio Gibson quite a bit this week. This is a really, really good matchup. I know that there's going to be some concern with J.D. McKissic and how involvement he's been, but as long as they don't get down really quickly, I think then Antonio Gibson's in a smash spot. You can run against the Lions. I love Antonio Gibson this week. Like I said, as long as they don't get behind and kind of game script him out, then I think that Antonio Gibson's in for I think a top 15 day.
I really like Gibson this week as well. Here's the question from Xenon: starting Boyd and Fulgham at wide receiver, has DJ Dallas in the flex, has AB and Godwin chilling on the bench though. Would you make any changes to that lineup?
Yes.
Godwin for DJ? That's where I would go. I would play Godwin over DJ Dallas.
I would actually almost I actually think that I would probably go Godwin over Fulgham and sit Fulgham.
You worry about the matchup?
Yeah, I mean, and now we need to see how this is all going to play out now that all these guys are back, right? Because Alshon Jeffrey is back. Now, I don't think Alshon Jeffrey is going to have some huge role or anything like that. He's not somebody I want to start in fantasy football, but he's still going to be out there taking targets away. Jalen Reagor is now back healthy. Dallas Goedert's back healthy. I mean, they pretty much have their full complement of weapons, and I don't hate Travis Fulgham, and he's also probably going to be seeing, I would assume, quite a bit of James Bradbury. James Bradbury has done a really good job this year. So, I think he gets the worst matchup, so I would probably lean more towards, in this situation, sitting him. I still think he's a decent wide receiver 3 this week, but I just have Godwin a little bit higher. And if you really wanted to, maybe sit Dallas and then I don't know, but it's tough too, because I think AB's right there. I mean, I could see him once again, getting, because they all pretty much last week got 6. I think they all got at least 6 targets. Evans and Godwin got 6 targets, and then AB I think got 5 targets, I believe. So they're all pretty much cut right down the middle. I think this is a great bounce back spot for the Bucs after they just got embarrassed on national television. So,
Coop Dog, Damian Harris, DJ Dallas, or Gio?
I'm going back to the. Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to the DJ Dallas. It's close. I both of them, him and Gio, are really close for me. I think both of them kind of stack up, because with Gio, I think the one thing that stands out with him is he's going to get all the opportunities. So even if maybe it's not, I know it's not a great matchup for him, but I think that you could probably see a lot more pass catching work, and as long as this is a PPR format, I do think that Gio does make some sense. I have him as an RB2 this week.
I agree with DJ out of that group as well. I think he has the better matchup for sure. Coop Dog also has another question: T. Higgins, Ayuk, or Cooks?
Ayuk. I mean, this dude's going to be peppered with targets. And like I said, it would be Brandon Cooks, but
Yeah.
I just can't with this match, with this weather.
Nope. SBB, Fournette, or Swift in PPR?
I'm going to go Swift.
Samesies. Curtis Larkin. What up, Curtis? Jefferson or T. Higgins?
I'm going to go Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. Coop Dog could also put in Henderson instead of Harris, DJ, or Gio.
No, I think I would still go. It would either be it's either DJ or Gio. I think both of them just have a, I don't know what the hell is going to happen with Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers. It's just there's too many backs there.
Lido, Chark, or Gio at the flex?
I want to play Chark so bad because it's without Jair Alexander. Like, it sets up for such a great matchup, but I would probably go with Gio. This weather is just like I'm more concerned with the Cleveland Houston game because the weather there. I mean, they're talking about legit 30, 40 mile an hour sustained winds with 50 plus mile an hour gusts. Like, that's you just scratch that one off for all passing. Like, it's great for Nick Chubb's return, who's supposed to get a full return or full workload. It's going to be good for even Kareem Hunt, people that still have him, because he's going to be worked in as well. And then you have on the other side with Duke Johnson, like Duke Johnson making his return to Cleveland. Like, there's a good matchup for him too. Like, all those guys are going to see a far more. They're going to see a lot of touches. There's not going to be a lot of passing in that game. And so that one, but I think on the other side, the Packers game doesn't look as bad, but I'd probably still go Gio.
Hey, Harvey. Non-PPR flex spot from my guy, Corey Moran, out there rocking with us on the West Coast in Oregon. Drake, Gio, Will Fuller. Can't go Fuller.
I would go Gio.
You going Gio over Drake?
Yeah, I think Drake could end up being a trap. I would try lightly with him. If you shout out to Maddie, who was on the DFS show in our little DFS chat that we have, and he brought up that remember last year whenever David Johnson was expected to return, right? And remember he came back and he played one snap and we didn't see him the rest of the game. And basically we found out that he was just an emergency option. So I'm a little bit nervous right now. They're saying that they're supposed to split touches, out of the backfield between him and Edmonds. So I don't know how that's going to work. So I'm a little bit lower on Drake. I think you can play him depending on who you have. But in this situation, I would go Gio.
Which wide receiver are you sitting out of Juju, Thielen, or Fuller?
Fuller.
Irvin Sanchez, start Dallas Goedert or Mark Andrews?
Dallas Goedert.
I agree there. Last fish in the pond joining us on Twitch. Always appreciate the Twitch folk jumping in as well. Anthony Miller or John Brown in a standard league?
I'm going to go John Brown.
I agree. I also like the prop for John Brown. His receiving total is only sitting at 47.5 right now. So if you're into that sort of thing, I really like the over in that matchup. Lisa G joining us on the YouTube chat. Robbie Anderson or Mike Williams?
I like that game quite a bit, but it's going to be Robbie Anderson. I should say I like both these games quite a bit. I like that Chargers Miami game quite a bit, but I would go Robbie Anderson here.
Philip Stutter, Judy or Cooper Kupp?
It's Kupp.
Agree there as well. Clutchful, pick one wide receiver and one flex. Thielen, Mike Will, Antonio Gibson, Ayuk, AB. Nice little group to be picking from here. I'm going to sit Thielen. I'm going to take Thielen out of consideration out of this group.
You are, huh?
Yeah. I think I like Gibson and Ayuk here.
I think I agree, but it just really is going to depend on what type of game this is for Monday Night Football against Chicago. Like, Chicago's been good against the pass. They've been much better against the pass than they have against the run. But if it's a game that the Vikings are forced to throw and somehow the Bears are able to get a lead here, I think that spells much better for Adam Thielen and being able to get more opportunities. I think that's the concern only with him, is that if they're able to run the ball, we know that they're going to, and there's possibility that Adam Thielen only sees 5 targets. But if this game kind of is able to stay close and the Vikings are forced to air it out, then I would much rather play Adam Thielen, and it would be Thielen and Gibson for me. So I think that's the way I'm going to lean. I like Brandon Ayuk, but I think I would just prefer going Thielen and Gibson for me.
So Gibson for sure, and then take your pick, whoever you feel most comfortable with, because that's the thing with Thielen in that game. Like, if they run it, they're going to run it. Over the past 3 weeks, Thielen's only seen 5, 4, and 5 targets, but that obviously coincides as well with Dalvin Cook just taking the world by storm and just putting basically the entire league on his back and just crushing it. And then you always have Jefferson on the other side, who, I don't think both of them have ever gone off at the same time this year. I think it's been one or the other between those two. That's why that kind of just gives me pause. Even if they are forced to throw, it could just be a Jefferson game. But Gibson for sure, and then either Thielen or Ayuk there. ISO only. Start 3. Cooks, DJ Moore, Ayuk again, and Deontay Johnson. This is a full PPR. ISO is leaning for sure with Deontay at flex. How do you feel about these 3, and are you plugging in Deontay the way that ISO is?
Well, I don't know. It depends on the option, because I'm definitely starting DJ Moore, Ayuk, and Deontay. Should start 3. So
sitting Cooks then.
Yeah.
Whoop, sorry, Max, just skipped you. Who do I drop for DJ? AB, Hooper, Andrews, Crowder, Jefferson, Newton.
Doesn't he have 2 quarterbacks? Yeah, it's Brees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would drop Newton.
Darsan, Ayuk, or Jefferson?
Ayuk.
Man, another Ayuk question. This one coming from Irvin again. We need one of these: DK, Ayuk, Higgins, AB.
It's DK. It's DK Metcalf.
Hashtag always DK. Lisa needs 2 of these wide receivers: Juju, Robbie Anderson, AB.
Sit Antonio Brown.
We have a Michigan legend in the building. Will Fuller, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, Mike Davis. Need 1 wide receiver and a flex.
Well, it's good. It's good to be among a legend, because there's one already here, so that makes 2 of us. So, welcome. I'm going Kupp and Will Fuller.
And Will Fuller? I'm going to go Kupp.
I can't play Mike Davis. I'm not playing Mike Davis. I'm not doing it. I don't care. I'm not doing it. It is a really bad matchup for Mike Davis. And I think that, so we kind of had a heated discussion about him in terms of DFS, because he's only 4K on DraftKings. But in terms of just regular, because if you kind of go back and look at his game log previous to, if you go back and look at his game logs previously to Christian McCaffrey coming back, you see a drop off in production. You see a drop off in usage in the passing game. You see a drop off in, and just overall work, right? And so if you go and look for those weeks, week 7 he had 8.6. Week 8 he had 8.7, but he's only targeted 3, and over the last 3 weeks prior to Christian McCaffrey coming back, it was 3, 5, and 2, and his routes dropped to 18 and 17. And he just stopped being utilized in the passing game. And you said, well, what happened? Why did that happen? And I think, quite honestly, it really has to do with the fact that Curtis Samuel has become more and more involved in this offense. And they're actually using Curtis Samuel out of the backfield as well. And he's seeing opportunities as a running back as well. And I think that's killed Mike Davis. Then you say, well, it didn't hurt Chris McCaffrey. Well, obviously, they're not going to stick Chris McCaffrey for Curtis Samuel. It's not going to happen. So this is just a stone cold worst matchup for Mike Davis. Like if you had to play him, you could, but I'm not running out to play the guy. So for me, it comes down to between in this question of Will Fuller, Cooper Kupp, and Adam Thielen. And I'm definitely playing Kupp, so it really comes out of Fuller and Thielen to me. And then I think Fuller and Thielen are both close for me. And I just slightly lean towards Will Fuller.
Man, I just want nothing to do with the weather in that game. Like you said, Kupp for sure. Then for me, it comes down to Thielen and Mike Davis. I think I get the matchup concern, but I think the touches will at least be there for Davis. So I think I'm going to go Kupp and Davis, but that matchup is definitely not good whatsoever. But like I said, I think with like we were talking about with Thielen and just the questions there, at least Davis, is going to have guaranteed touches, whether that's on the ground or through the air. So I will go Kupp and Davis there. If Kenyon Drake plays, you were kind of touched on this already, Kev. You're not considering him a must start, correct?
No, I think he's just more of an RB3. I think it really depends on what else you got, and if you're desperate, so have to play him.
23 Airman wants thoughts on this team. Brees and Wentz at quarterback, McCaffrey, Henry, Connor, Dobbins at RB. Wide receivers look like MT, McLaurin, Galladay, Cooper, and Chark. And then tight ends are Henry and Kittle. And actually, 23 Airman picked up McCaffrey off of waivers because someone thought he was out for the year.
That's fantastic. Because it looks like has a shot at returning next week.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you need 2 quarterbacks unless it's 2 quarterback leagues. So I would drop Drew Brees or trade him. We're heading into the final week for most leagues. The trade deadline is this week for most leagues. Now, some people may have it set a little bit different, but this is kind of the week to really set yourself up for the playoff schedule, which I think when we do our buy-sell show this week is going to be heavily focused on the playoffs and looking at basically the fantasy playoff schedule and kind of dissecting that and figuring out the best options to buy and sell from there, because that's kind of where we're at. So,
yeah, no need to carry 2 unless you're in that 2 quarterback league. So either drop or try and trade Brees and everything else on that team. I like. He also picked Kittle up off of waivers as well. So good for you, keeping an eye on that waiver wire, Airman. Walito wants to know Fant or Goddard.
Goddard.
Someone dropped. Okay.
Listen, so Marvin or Ingram's back. So now we're right back to the Ingram, Dobbins, and Gus Edwards 3-way split. No thanks. You can't play any of them.
Yeah, keep DJ there and just ride him until Carson and or Hyde come back. Noah wants to know Swift or Robbie Anderson.
That one's really close. I think I would go Swift.
Just matchup base there.
No, they're both significantly close for me. I have both of them as like I have Swift at like RB 13, and I have Robbie Anderson at like wide receiver 15. So they're both really close.
Sean Goglin needs 2 running backs and 1 flex. Chubb and Hunt on the same team. Jacobs, Gio, Tyler, Boyd.
Yeah, Chubb for sure. And then I would probably go Josh Jacobs, and then flex Tyler Boyd.
I agree on there as well. Drake or Fournette from D Woods. Shades in a standard scoring. T or Hollywood.
I'm going with the Lamar and Hollywood stack here. Great matchup. Like I said, we just talked about a little bit ago with how bad this Patriots defense is that they're going to be playing tonight on Sunday Night Football. So I like Lamar and Hollywood quite a bit. I actually just traded for, not that anybody cares about my fantasy team, but I actually just traded for Marquise Brown in a league. So I think he's a terrific buy low. We've been talking about that the last couple of weeks. It's Fragger. It has TJ Hawkinson or Noah Fant. It's TJ Hawkinson as long as he plays. I mean, it sounds like I haven't heard anything. From the last I heard, he's expected to play. So as long as TJ Hawkinson plays, I think it could very well just be a rest day thing with him. He's had this toe issue that he's been dealing with all year. Like, this isn't something new that just popped up. And he practiced in full on Wednesday. And then basically they ended up from there. He sat out Thursday and then came back and practiced again on Friday. So it's Hawkinson for me.
Yeah, I agree. Unless we get word that he's going to be limited or in a pitch count for whatever reason. I don't think that concern is there. But if it were, obviously you go Fant. But I think you rock with Hawk. Last Fishing Upon on Twitch wants to know thoughts on New Orleans at home versus the Niners.
Little Kutzer in the house.
Just out here trying to eat in these streets.
Hey, I'm trying to tell you. We're all trying to eat, get fed here, trying to get full. So I like New Orleans quite a bit. I mean, San Francisco's defense is extremely, extremely banged up. Their entire team is extremely banged up. It is New Orleans at home. This is kind of the, as we say, the Coors Field of fantasy football. People that know about baseball know what I'm talking about. And so I think, but the real question here is because like last week, they were able to just manhandle the Bucks. And so they didn't ever really have to open up their offense too much. But I think this is a great week for Michael Thomas. I think you expect him to do quite a bit. And Manny Sanders seems to be in a pretty good chemistry with Drew Brees. Alvin Kamara is probably the one that I'm actually, like, I would say not like concerned about. I think you could probably have a slightly lower because they still have been really good against the run all year. But we know how much he's utilized as a pass catcher, so that really doesn't affect me all that much. Maybe a slot, tick down for him. But other than that, that's about it. But so, yeah, I think it's a great day for New Orleans, and I think that they probably crush the 49ers again.
Yeah, I can't remember where I heard it, but Nick Mullins has one of the biggest disparities between throwing from a clean pocket and being pressured. And obviously we know that New Orleans can bring the pressure, and on top of a bunch of their defensive players and their skill players being banged up, I think that the Niners also have injuries across their offensive line as well. So you can definitely go with New Orleans at home and feel completely fine about it. I think they're like 9.5-point favorites at home. So you can definitely look at them. Shepard or Ayuk in PPR for C-Chat.
It's Ayuk and Wentz.
Going Wentz there as well. Mini Jordan 718. Choose a flex in a PPR. AB, Deontay, Chark, DJ Moore, or Singletary.
I'm going to go Deontay.
I will go DJ Moore. DJ Moore there. Just because of the weather concerns, don't have those same concerns with that Carolina game, and obviously we're expecting Carolina's going to be playing from behind And not that I'm reading into the last one too much, but Teddy B did go for over 300 yards in that last matchup against the Bucks defense. I'm obviously expecting them to play better this time around, but I think more can still get there. Jacob Piccolo wants to know Jalen Reagor or Chase Edmonds in a standard.
I'm gonna go Edmonds.
Yeah, until we see it, like we were talking about earlier with the Eagles and that the Fulgham discussion. Until we kind of see how this is the healthiest that team has been in quite some time. So I'm gonna wait and see how all that plays out and see how the snaps and the targets and everything go. So I will also go Edmonds there as well. Got another Edmonds question following up from Clamped. We need 2 out of this group: Edmonds, McKissick, Boyd, Kirk. Need 3 actually. Need 3 of those. Kirk, I'm locking in.
Yeah, it's tough with McKissick because how involved he's been, but I'd probably still go Christian Kirk. I would go Edmonds, and then I would go Tyler Boyd.
D Woods, Thielen, Shepard, Claypool in a PPR.
I'm gonna go Thielen.
Wow. I would as well, and I would rank them in the way that you have them written out here. I'd go Thielen, Shepard, and then Claypool.
It would be Thielen, Claypool, and Shepard for me.
Well, I'm ranking them. You're not. So Thielen, Shepard, and Claypool. But we're both going Thielen first, and you only need 1, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Kev, is there anything else that is catching your eye this morning? Anything that you're really looking forward to, or any questions that you hope are answered? Like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm interested to see what Tua we get this week, since we had the 1 week where he wasn't great. Last week looked a lot better. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Then obviously the Buffalo Arizona game is super intriguing. And then the Rams and Seahawks. But is there anything that's sticking out to you? You had mentioned some of the buy sell video coming up. What's sticking out to you in Week 10?
Well, I mean, I really just want to see the return of some of these running backs. See how Nick Chubb looks, how Miles Sanders looks. We're finally getting some of these running backs back after we've kind of waited for these guys. And now we're starting to get them all back. Like again, it sounds like that even guys like Christian McCaffrey sounds like he has a shot of returning next week. Austin Eckler sounds like that he could be back not this week but next. I think that Austin Eckler actually turns into somebody who I think somebody that you probably look at as a guy that you could probably buy right now, Austin Eckler. And so I think that it's a buying window for him, especially now with Justin Herbert back, or not back, but Justin Herbert back there. Not whenever he was last saw him, really he was pretty much with Tyrod for the most part. We didn't get to see too much of him with Justin Herbert, and so I like Austin Eckler as another guy. I think you can kind of target here before we're heading in. Like again, it's kind of depends on where your team's at. But, I think I would really be trying to look at, schedules and things like that for the fantasy playoffs, because the last thing you want to do is head into the fantasy playoffs and then week 14 or week 15, you just have just a bunch of terrible matchups throughout the board and you end up losing because of that. Because, we don't get to choose that, but I think you can at least, try to be forward thinking now and making those decisions.
Yep. So definitely keep an eye out. We mentioned the buy sell video that'll be dropping Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So we'll have your buy sells for week 11 then. Alvin Port wants to know Deontay Johnson or Will Fuller with the Cleveland weather.
Deontay.
Yeah. Fuller's obviously gets a lot of his value from those deep throws. Deontay Johnson is kind of used as the shallow target. So Deontay definitely safer there. So that's the option. I like alligator feet 11, Watson or Wentz. I'm not even messing with Watson whenever you have an option like Carson Wentz. So I'd go Wentz there. Rodolfo wants to know, would you play Chark over Kirk with Jair Alexander being out?
No, I'd play Kirk. I mean, again, like, I hate games like this where you have to worry about so much about weather, because these are great matchups, like for both sides. Like, I think Chark, this would be a fantastic matchup for him going against Green Bay without Jair Alexander. But this weather kind of has it to where you guys, I think you have to at least really take it into strong consideration that they're just not going to be able to throw the ball that much, especially more so, like I said, in that Houston game.
Yeah, I agree. I wish the weather was not a concern. Not only do you have to worry about the weather, you have to worry about fucking Luton, however you pronounce his name. It's not like you have a well-established quarterback who potentially might be able to get the ball to Chark at least a couple of times for that to play off, for that play to pay off. So I'm going to go Kirk there as well. D. Woods with another question: Brady or Wentz?
I would go. That one's tough. I'd go Brady. It's super close. I like both of them quite a bit.
Are you kind of playing off the narrative of pissed off Brady coming back after the performance last week? Everyone's ready for the pissed off Brady game.
No, not as much. I just think it's a really good matchup, and I think that I have both of them. Actually, I mean, I have Brady at 5 now, because what I had Deshaun Watson at 5, Aaron Rodgers at 3, but I dropped them both down because of the weather, and so I moved Brady up to 5 and Carson Wentz up to 6.
So they're right there.
Yeah. Another quarterback that I do really like that that's probably available for a lot of people. If like I own Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers, or that's probably it. You're not playing Jake Luton or Baker Mayfield, but Jared Goff, I think, is in a fantastic spot this week, and he's somebody that I know that's pretty widely available in a lot of leagues and has a really great matchup today against Seattle. So I like Jared Goff quite a bit. I have Jared Goff actually at 7 among quarterbacks. So if he's out there and you don't feel great about your quarterback situation, I think Jared Goff is the way I would go.
Yeah, I like that call a lot too. I talked about Goff last night on the player prop video. And obviously, we know that the way to beat Jared Goff is with pressure. You get in his face, you get him off his first read. That, like, everybody and their grandmother know that's how you beat Jared Goff. But the Seahawks cannot get pressure on quarterbacks. They have the 11th lowest pressure rate, despite blitzing at the 12th highest rate. So they're blitzing, they're trying to get there, they're just not getting there. So in the Rams' offensive line has been playing pretty well this year as well. So love that game. Love that for a shootout. We have Tan Nguyen here in the chat joining us as always. Appreciate you jumping in. Flex in a half PPR. Who do you want? Robbie Anderson, John Brown, Philip Lindsay, or Marvin Jones Jr.?
Robbie Anderson.
I'm going to go John Brown. Demo Man, I love this question. How do we determine trade values? That is a really good question. We probably don't really take the time to get into. Demo uses CBS's trade value website. What I will say on this is the trade value of your player is only worth what someone is willing to pay for him. Right? Like it doesn't matter if you go to especially, and if you're looking at like dynasty trade values as well, there's a bunch of trade calculators out there. There's sites you can use for that. Like I already said, Demo Man's using CBS. Like you can go to that and look at it all you want and try to trade away, Chris Godwin and say, hey, this is what this player is worth according to this. But if someone's not willing to pay that price, it doesn't matter. And I also think that trade values also fluctuate from like beginning of season to like where we are now. Like beginning of season, you can go off of name, right? You can go off of, your Joe Mixons and Zeke Elliott's. You get to this point of year, those names aren't going to carry the same amount of weight. And, look at another way to look at that on the flip side is like James Robinson. He's the one who's producing now, especially compared to somebody like a Zeke or Joe Mixon. Obviously, he's been injured, so it's not apples to apples there. But the thing you have to look at this point of year is just production. And then the key thing here whenever it comes to trades is to always take your opponent's roster in consideration. If you're trying to get, let's say Alvin Kamara, and that is by far and away who you're going after, and that's their best player, it's going to be worth more to that team, Alvin Kamara is, than someone who maybe has Kamara, Edmonds, James Robinson, has some other options they can fall back on. If that's their best player far and away, their value is going to be higher. So you always have to take into consideration the production of what they're doing for you right now, your opponent's situation. Are they heading into the play? Are they fighting and clawing for a playoff spot? Are they sitting pretty? And then also their roster in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. So it's a case by case and a week by week basis to be honest for me. Kev, you have anything to add there? Anything you wanna chime in on as far as trade values?
No, all I'll say is like there's a lot of things like that out there that whether it's the CBS, whether it's the ESPN's new dumb thing that they put out there, it's the IBM Watson. I was curious as to what it was earlier, and I looked at it. It's just fucking terrible. The trades they throw out there are awful. Like I would never make. There's not been one that I've been like, oh, okay, no, that's not a bad trade. Every one of them are just fucking the worst. And I'm like, I don't know where they get this from. Like, no, like, don't look at those. You hit it 100% on the head. Is trade value only goes as far as what people value them as. There's people out there that will see somebody like, I don't know, Miles Sanders, for example, and maybe the guy just, he's frustrated with him and thinks that the guy's trash, and he'll be willing to trade him for far more or far less than what most people would expect, right? We see it a lot in fantasy leagues because everybody's different, everybody values guys differently, and so I think it's easier to kind of get a feel for where people are at with guys and stuff like that. Try to get people to make the trade offer to you rather than you trading to them, because I never like bidding against myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for all you could have had him for much less. So, I think those are the things to kind of take into consideration. But you're right. Like, I think that the trade values and all that stuff, I think you can throw them out the window because they just don't do a whole lot of help, I think, over in the long term. And Walito, like, it's certainly possible. Like, there's this part of me, like a deep down part of my stomach, that I'm like, man, are we really fading these games? Like the Houston game, I don't really care about, but this Green Bay game feels like it could go one or two different ways. Either they run the rock, and we see a lot of Aaron Jones and James Robinson, or we could be, maybe the win's not as big of a factor as what we think it is, and DJ Chark goes out and crushes this week because it's a great matchup for DJ Chark. So, like, it makes me super nervous to be sitting DJ Chark.
Yeah, absolutely. It's with the weather.
If it was me and it was my team and I own, like, I would probably be starting him more often than I would be sitting him, to be honest with you, because I am just so super contrarian, like, and I'm super like against the grain, and I'm always about upside. Like, I don't really care about anybody's floor. Like, I don't even ever look at floor. I'm always talking about. I'm always thinking of who I'm the highest upside plays, but that's carries more risk, and I try to mitigate that, I guess, when we're doing this and we're helping other people do this instead of just so. But I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, makes sense. Mason wants to know AB or Landry.
Yeah, AB.
Should be Landry, but with the weather.
Well, I think so with him though. I think it's much closer because with Landry, I mean Landry, has such a low a dot. Like you could, those short and intermediate throws. Like I think he should be okay with. So I don't think he is not nearly as affected as some of the other plays, like a Will Fuller or a Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, for sure. I just think with obviously that's a run first offense,
right?
And then you're adding in the weather on top of it.
Yeah, they could run the ball 50 times today. It's totally possible.
Absolutely. I don't see Houston being able to jump out to a big lead to force Cleveland's hand into abandoning their want of running the ball. So I will go AB there as well. Mason, Jeremiah Hudson, pick 2 in a standard. Boyd, Fulgham, AB, Robbie.
I'm going to go Boyd and Robbie.
Yeah. Boyd and Robbie. I was considering Fulgham, but I don't think you have to go after that like we've been saying all morning with the Eagles being at full strength here. I would rather just take the precautionary side and go Robbie and Boyd as well. But I do think if you were forced to start Fulgham, I wouldn't hate it. But with those options, I'll go Boyd and Robbie. Tyler Boyd or Deontay Johnson in a half PPR?
That's super close. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Deontay.
I will go Tyler Boyd.
By the way, just I don't know if we said it already, but TJ Hawkinson is active today.
Okay. Perfect. Nothing about being limited or held back at all?
Mm-mm.
Sweet. Anthony Acosta wants to know Godwin or Cooks? It's Godwin.
Yeah.
Logan Thomas or Gerald Everett with Kelsey on a bye?
You mean Gerald Everett?
Give me Logan Thomas with the with Alex Smith being there. I mean, at least we know that Logan Thomas is going to run 2-3 times as many routes as Everett. Would it surprise me if Everett outscored him? No, it would not. But I feel way safer going with Logan Thomas than Gerald Everett. Also, Tyler Higbee has to be in the running for one of the most disappointing fantasy players this year. Someone dropped Ingram. Would you pick him up?
Nope. You know what I will say? I'll say this really quickly. I always try to go through. I think a smart move is to go through like today and take a look at all the players who are sitting out there on waivers, especially mainly at running back. And if you are somebody who has like a dead weight player, trying to look at see who's out there. So like I was doing this I was actually doing this yesterday. But a guy like Mark Ingram, for example, if you roster him, you could probably drop him. Like I just don't think he's really worth that rostering. But I think there's some running backs here down the stretch that could end up being super useful. And now we've kind of passed that window where, before it was kind of like just carrying dead weight, but now over these next really, since we have such a short period of time left, that these guys, if somebody goes down, like they become such a lottery ticket. And the obvious ones are Alexander Madison, Tolly Pollard, and guys like that, right? But the other ones that I was looking at that really would be Benny Snell. I think Benny Snell is a terrific ad in any league right now because if something happened to James Conner, I think he would take over as the lead back with Anthony McFarland probably mixing in as a pass catching back. Devontae Booker with the Raiders. Josh Jacobs has not been somebody who has been has been always been able to stay healthy. He's battled injury this year, and Devontae Booker has looked good, like in limited opportunities. Last week, I think he had 8 for 68 and a touchdown, and he's a 3-down back, so he's somebody that would step right in and get more opportunities. And so I think guys like that, I guess, as what I'm trying to say is like I would be looking to roster those guys now. I would, and this is a smart time to do it right before waivers run, because obviously if you obviously have those guys, it's a huge advantage instead of having to go out and waste a high if you have a high waiver priority, or if you still are carrying some fab, trying to be proactive and look at some of these guys who are actually doing something, because Devontae Booker is owned by nobody, right? And if something were to happen to Josh Jacobs, like he becomes like a legitimate solid, high end RB1, right? And depending on matchup. So, because he is somebody that can carry the rock, as a 3-down back. He's a great pass catching back. And so, like guys like that, I think that's what I would be looking to roster right now. There's a lot of these dudes that are just completely dead weight that just don't need to be owned by anybody anymore. And Mark Ingram is one of them.
I think you could also throw the Michael P. Ryan into that conversation, just with the word that we got. Like, not going to feel great about it, but the report came out that they're going to treat him as their lead back going forward, just to see what they have in him. Obviously, it's been a lost season for the Jets, but they're going to be treating him as a lead back moving forward. So if you're in a deeper league, of course, if you're in an 8-10 team league, there's no reason to have a Michael P. Ryan. But 12 teams and higher, I would look at adding LaMichael P. Ryan just for that alone. Karn joining us on the YouTube chat. What's up, Karn? Hope you are well as well. Do you like Tanyan or Jimmy G? Tanyan was also somebody who was listed as questionable.
He is active.
Okay.
I would go Jimmy G, I think.
Yeah, I agree there. Fanta, don't you want to? Kirk or Lockett?
Oh, you must be talking about Kirk Cousins. Or no.
Christian Kirk.
When I just saw the lock, I didn't think. No, yeah. It's Lockett.
Yeah. I really like Kirk this week, but I couldn't start him over.
See, that's why I got confused. Because I saw this question earlier in the chat. That's why I saw it. I knew he had a Drew Lock question. I like Drew Lock actually a lot this week, but I'm not starting him over Carson Wentz.
Okay. Karn needs 3 of these in a full PPR. Hopkins, Woods, Juju, Fulgham, Brown.
The first 3.
First 3?
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking about John Brown possibly over Juju. First 2 for sure. And then I think if you need a boom bust play for whatever reason, Karn, you could look at John Brown over Juju, but I would lean the first 3 as well. Bobby Schmerda joining us again. Man, we get some celebrities in this chat. We appreciate the celebrities taking time out of their busy schedule to join us here. Fulgham, Reagor, or Jefferson in a PPR?
I would go Fulgham here.
Finally got you.
Well, I don't hate Travis Fulgham at all. Like I think that he's certainly in play. Like I think all of these wide receivers are top 36 wide receivers this week. I just have concerns with Justin Jefferson that they're just not going to have to throw the ball, or they're going to be limited. So, like for Justin Jefferson to hit his ceiling for what we're looking for, you have to expect that the other team on the other side is going to be able to push them and force them to throw the ball. And there's no way you're going to tell me that I'm going to feel like that Nick Foles and the Bears are going to be able to do something like that. And you beat the Bears by running the football. So that's the only reason why I just have trouble playing Justin Jefferson. So then it comes down to Fulgham and Reagor. I like Reagor as well. I think Reagor is a fantastic play today, but I just like Fulgham a little bit more.
I'll go Fulgham there as well. He's been playing really, really well over the past couple of weeks. Woods, Who do you got? Browns or Texans in the point spread? And I think that game right now is currently at Browns are favored by 4.5.
I would go Browns. And I think they cover the spread.
I don't feel great either way, so I would take
If we're looking at
Yeah.
this weather and it's going to be as nasty as they say they are, the Browns have a massive advantage in terms of being able to run the football. They get what's his name back, their offensive lineman. They've been
Teller,
J.C. Treader or
Teller, Wyatt.
Teller. Yeah, that's what it is. So getting him back is a huge advantage. Now they have Nick Chubb back, and we know that they already want to run the football. They can run the football against anybody, and so
Yeah.
the Texans are fucking trash against stopping the run.
Yeah.
This game sets up to be a perfect Browns game to be able to just run all over them. That's why I think both him and Kareem Hunt are in play. Both, I mean, Chubb definitely is, but I think Kareem Hunt is also a pretty solid play in his own right.
Yeah, I definitely have the Browns winning. I would just avoid the I would just avoid this spread altogether if you can. D Woods. Mason wants to know Watson or Herbert. Give me Herbert for sure.
Oh yeah, yes.
Aiden Trundy, Geo Drake, Chark in the flex PPR. Also has Justin Jefferson, Rager, and Mooney if you would play any of them over Geo, Drake, and Chark.
I'm going to go Chark.
You go Chark over Jefferson?
Oh, yeah.
Man, those are 6 options I normally feel better about than in week 10. Yeah, Chark. Do you think the Tampa Bay defense is overrated after last week's beatdown?
No.
It was just an awful game plan for what, like, who plays a soft zone against Drew Brees? And then the Tampa Bay offense, especially early on, couldn't get anything going. They went 3 and out, their first 4 drives, I think, first 4 or 5 drives. That defense was on the field the entire time. And then they played that awful zone against Drew Brees. So I don't think they're overrated either. Maybe they weren't as good and as shut down as we saw early in the season, but I don't think that they are overrated.
Games like that happen, right? I mean, to every team all the time. So I mean, we saw, like, I mean, you look at the Chiefs, right? I mean, the Chiefs got beat by the damn Raiders, and it really wasn't as close as what the score indicated it was. Like, it's games like that happen for teams. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's teams just going overconfident, not well executed, not well prepared, whatever the case may be. It looks like the Saints have the Bucs number. I mean, because they did pretty much the same thing week 1. Where they got up on them quickly and into a big lead and everything else. But no, I do not think the Bucs defense is overrated.
In a full PPR, we need 3 out of these for the CB kid: Godwin, Juju, Kirk, Fournette, A-Rob. I will go
Robinson.
Yes. I'll go Godwin, Kirk, and A-Rob.
I'm going Juju, Godwin, and A-Rob.
So we agree on 2 out of 3. Not shabby. Not too shabby. Andrews or Tanyan for double R here?
Andrews.
Agree. Rest of season, Burrow or Teddy B?
It's going to be Burrow for me. I mean, the amount that they throw the ball, I think it's hard to ignore, and that's kind of what we're looking for in fantasy football: is more opportunities, the better, and it's going to be Burrow.
Yeah, I think he has the higher ceiling for sure. Here's another good question from Demo. Demo, I appreciate these questions. It's a nice little little change up from what our Sunday normally is. Do you watch the scores of your teams all day, or just look at the end of the day?
So what I do is I don't look at my season long at all. But I am sweating DFS all day. Is really what I'm like really paying attention, because you have to with DFS because of late swaps and stuff like that you have to try to gain an edge on the field. I know for most people, I don't know if anybody in here, maybe they can answer in the chat if anybody in here actually plays DFS. But like, even if you're somebody that you don't, unless you live in a state that you can't, like, I highly recommend playing DFS, even if you go super light and you play like the quarter jukebox lineups or stuff like that. Like, I think it's actually, I love DFS because I love the puzzle of the concept every week, trying to put together the best lineup and everything else. So if you live in a state where you can play DFS, you've never played, I could point you in the direction of how to become profitable and, have some fun with it. But so for me, I generally am sweating my DFS lineups all day. And then maybe once or twice I'll look at my season long team. But that's about it.
This year has been a complete flip for me, and I don't know why. Normally, like the way that you are with your DFS lineups, I'd be that way with like all of my dynasty and redraft. I'd just be like looking at everyone. Who's this guy? Who's that guy have? Who do I have here? Who do I have there? And just like freaking out over every single touchdown, over every single catch. I don't know why. It wasn't a conscious effort on my part, but for whatever reason, this season, like, I'm just like, I'll check like a couple of times throughout the day, but like I'm not freaking out about it. I don't know why, but it is way more enjoyable than it had been over the past couple of years of just completely freaking out. So if you would have asked me last year, that was an all day thing, like checking my phone more so than even watching the games half the time. But this year, I'm only checking a handful of times. So that's been a switch for me. Kev, Walito's calling you out. Did you not say Gio over Chark earlier?
I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, there's been so many questions. It's super close between the both of them. Like, I think I have Gio at like RB21 and I have Chark at wide receiver 22. So I could really go either way on either one of them. Like, I'm not knocking Chark down as much as I think other people are. So I still think that he's in play, because I think that you can expect a really concentrated group of targets. And like kind of what Walito said earlier was, I think there's a really good chance that the Packers get up quickly in this game, and they're going to have to throw the ball. It doesn't matter. They can try to run the ball, so they're going to have to be forced to throw. And so as long as if the game doesn't stay close, then I think that's how Chark becomes fantasy relevant. Because if this game were to stay close, then I think Chark is not nearly as attractive.
Yeah, I think you might have said Gio earlier, but then you also talked about, like, with your personal teams, you'd probably be going Chark, and then we started talking about the game script a little bit, so maybe that's where that flip happened. But I don't think that those two are far enough apart that it's like that you really have to worry about it all that. Like, I think either one they're both in like not great spots, and they're both kind of sitting in the same spot. Jay Almighty has Hopkins and Adams. Do I play Murray or Rodgers? That is 100% Murray, and yeah, that's also 100% try and trade Rodgers. I would just ride Murray the rest of the way.
Yeah. Kyler Murray has been actually better than Lamar Jackson was last year. So far, he has not finished lower than QB7 on a week. QB7. Like, he's been damn near top 5 quarterback every single week.
D Woods needs a defense. Washington, Vikings, or Bears? Can't go Vikings.
Washington.
Yeah, I think it's Washington as well. That's who I would also roll. Did you do that?
Yeah, because the guy is spamming the chat. So just answer it and just get it over with, before I have to block him.
Fuller, Cup, empty. A-Rob need 3. Sit Fuller.
Yes.
Jared's in Twitch joining us. Good seeing you back in here. Who do I flex out of regular, Jefferson, Mooney, Landry?
Jefferson.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think I would rank them Jefferson, Landry. I don't think you have to. I don't think you have to consider the last. So I'd go Jefferson or Landry there, but Jefferson is the play. Michael Mayalo. Is Michael Thomas going to be better? Yeah. Last week they jumped out ahead. It was 28-0 at halftime or something like that. He's going to be better. They just literally did not need to throw the ball. Adam Thielen or AB full PPR.
Thielen.
Kev, going back to you were talking about playing DFS. Do you think that makes you a better in-season player?
I think it helps on a week-to-week basis more so than anything because you get a better overall picture of what everything looks like for the week because the research that you put into your DFS lineups and the teams that you're building, so you get a better understanding of plays. And it's really helped me a lot in terms of maybe there's a week that I need to whether I need to pick somebody up off waivers and stuff like that, of already having that preconceived thought of, okay, this is what I'm looking at in DFS, this is what I'm playing. So if some of those guys are available on a week-to-week basis, like, for example, a good example for me this week would be like KJ Hamler is a guy who I really like. And in DFS, he's 3,800, but he's also widely available in season-long leagues. And if I needed a wide receiver this week to plug in at flex or something like that, like I would run out and add him without question and feel pretty confident in playing him. And so I do think that, yes, it helps you on that week-to-week basis of making decisions and trying to come up with ideas on that. That's kind of how I think that it really does help you quite a bit because it's more of because really, I mean, even season long is still a week-to-week game, right? Because you're playing that week. So obviously, I do think there's a lot of correlation with helping you in terms of DFS to season long.
Yeah, I'll just I played mostly cash whenever I cash games whenever I play, just because I'm just not good at finding that $3,500 wide receiver who's going to pop off. You kind of need in a GPP. But I will say that even if you don't want to play DFS, you should absolutely listen to DFS podcasts and read the articles and stuff, because that will definitely make you a better season-long player. That is the majority of what I listen to during the end season, because Kev, like you said, you're literally researching every in and out of every play. So I think that's definitely helpful. And if you're interested in listening to some DFS content, Kev, Ryan, and Ryan. Why did I say Ryan? Yeah,
There's Ryan.
There's the
Maddie.
And Maddie have the live show on Thursdays where they go live. And then Ryan does a video. If you want to play GPPs, he gives you some low-owned plays. And then he puts together an article at thefantasyauthority.com giving you some building blocks for your leagues. And then Corey wants to know what contests you primarily play in. Kev, I know you play in mostly GPPs because you want to go for the gold and you want that sweat and the big money prize. I will say if you want to get your feet wet, there are like the quarter 10-cent games you can play. If you don't want to put up any money for whatever reason, Kev, I know this is a foreign concept to you, but if you just want to get your feet wet and kind of just play around a week, there are free games. And then I'm sure they do this on DK, but on FanDuel you can do like beginner only, so that way you're not getting pinned up against Kev and these guys that are putting in 150 lineups on every single slate. So look for the cheaper ones and look for the beginner only.
So what I would say is, if you've never played DFS, is one, stick to 3 entry and single entries. Do not go which it tells you on generally in terms of the tile or wherever. You can look and see if it's a single entry means that everybody in the entire field can only play one lineup. 3 entries, everybody can only play 3. Stay away from the 150 maxes. I think 20 entry max is the most I would go to, because you're avoiding those pitfalls of where people are running 150 lineups on you, and chances of you winning that are very slim. I would definitely agree that if you're just starting out, find the smaller, whether it's the quarter, whether it's the $1, which is a 20 entry max. Like, I think those are the ones that I would go to and play. And just have some fun with it. I think learning how to play DFS, I think, and then you can end up becoming profitable with it. I can tell you this with utmost certainty: there is no such sweat than there is of DFS whenever you're moving up and you have a really strong lineup and you're up there in the money, and you're getting close to winning 10K or 15K or 20K. That sweat is so real. Like, it's like when you're on the edge of your seat and like you're like that is like a rush like no other. But you also don't have to go hard and play. I think there's a misconception that people think that you have to go out and play 150 lineups, and you don't. Just stick to the smaller field. Stick to the, you can do that. Yes, you can go down and find the beginner tournaments for the beginner games and stuff like that. But I would recommend, if you have a bankroll of $20, then, play $5 a week and just play a bunch of quarter and dollar and stuff like that. And just have fun with it and learn it. And then, like I said, I think you'll find over time that DFS will really help you grow as a season-long player too.
Yeah, I think it was 2 seasons ago at this point, but I did take down one of those like quarter jukebox games. You know what I mean? Like that ROI of 25 cents. And I don't know, it was like $35, $37 that I cashed out. But like even that sweat was a lot of fun. Like I won on like a meaningless like fourth quarter catch too, and that's what put me over the edge. And that was a lot of fun. L. Bauer wants to know, friend offered me Connor for James Robinson in week 11. Bauer would be getting Connor. We have talked before about James Robinson as a sell high candidate with his schedule coming up. But what'd you do for James Conner?
I would probably at this point try to get a little bit more, honestly, than for James Conner. Like, I think you could get like James Conner plus. So that's what I would look for, because I think you're selling a little bit too low on Robinson. Like, I definitely think you should be selling Robinson for sure. I think that's a nice start, but I would probably ask for a little bit more.
I agree, and I'm glad you said that, because I didn't want to come across as just the Steelers hater. But I agree on that. I think you can aim a little bit higher, or at least get like a high upside, like lower value piece along with Connor.
I've never seen somebody who hates their favorite team the most. Like, it's like you're like what is the guy's name from Major League? The fan that's pissed off the entire time, is always heckling them and everything else. And I got this. I got to figure out what his name is. But that's totally you.
Hey, Kev, finally got one. I have seen that movie. So there's one that you've talked about that I actually have seen. Fucking Moran wants to know Russ Wilson or Rodgers. That is Russ for Shizzle. Ed Seat wants to know Thielen or AB. That is Thielen. Demo Man wants to know, will we have a draft kit next year? It's something we thought about, and then all of a sudden it is May, and we're still just talking about doing it. But that is definitely something that is that's been kicked around. So
I think if there's interest in it, well, now we have more time, and we've kind of, because our goal really this year was to grow this community here on YouTube, and that was our biggest goal, especially with Corona, with COVID and everything else. I didn't feel comfortable trying to put something together and ask people for money in a time like this, whenever everything was going on. So we thought, it'd be better for us just to try to build this and really build a strong community, because that's what we're really wanting to do. It's good to see the weekly same people in here every single week. And that's what the whole goal was behind all of this. I don't like to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. There's a lot of shit content on YouTube that I've seen. And that's really, like, we've been doing this, like TFA, I guess, a quick rundown if people care, I guess. But TFA has been around for 5 years, but we were mainly, podcast and written content. And I've really been wanting to get into the YouTube side of things. And so that's where we kind of decided this year that we were going to go full steam. Like, I didn't know anything really about video editing or creating thumbnails and all the work that it goes into behind of doing YouTube. But we kind of just said, you know what, we're going to do it. No more excuses. And that's what we're doing today. And that's what we've been doing, and kind of growing and getting better and better. But there is a lot. I've been on a lot of channels. I've seen some of the stuff that they produce, and there's a lot of bad in terms of content out there. And there's people that have a lot of subscribers, and hey, good for them. And so overall, I think that with time, I think that we can grow a really strong community, and that's what we're about, is helping everybody and trying to win championships or take down DFS tournaments. Because that's what I get more satisfaction of. Like, I love hearing when people are like, hey man, thanks, you really appreciate it. For us, you helped me get that win last week. I really appreciate it. That means more to me than anything else does. So I really appreciate all that.
Yeah, for sure. And especially whenever, we've had it happen a couple of times this year where people are asking us questions and being like, hey, I asked these guys as well. And, one guy got heckled and was called an idiot and told not to ask him questions anymore. Like, that's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
There might be a question that we think is like super obvious that we might kind of roll our eyes at and scoff at a little bit, but we're never going to call anybody an idiot or tell them to get off the channel or anything like that. That is 1000% the wrong way to handle somebody like that, who's taking the time to consume your content and then ask you a question because they value your opinion.
And I think the worst part about it, though, is the funniest part about it is the guy, the person who got heckled, he was right. His question was he was on the right side of the take, and the people who were giving him shit and told never to ask a question again were so wrong. And the analysis of it was fucking terrible. And I'm like, what is wrong with it? One, that's no way to treat somebody. Two, you're a fucking idiot because you're wrong. You're just wrong. And it was, I'll just say, it was about TJ Hawkinson and saying TJ Hawkinson was terrible, or it wasn't so much that he was terrible, but I think he had him ranked at tight end 20 and all this other. Get the fuck out of here. The guy has been a consistent producer every single week. You're wrong here. Don't tell somebody else. You know what? I've been wrong. I was wrong on Jamal Williams. Well, I know he tells me all the time. I don't care. I'm okay with being wrong. Just accept it and move on. So anyway. So last year we did some TFA listener leagues, and we'll probably relaunch them this year. So next year, 2021, we'll put out all that, and we'll start firing up some TFA listener leagues, and we'll all play in them with you guys. So, and it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah,
we was it a 20-person league that we did last year?
Yeah, 20? It was something like that. It was basically analysts versus the listeners, and that I won. So first place.
TS has a question. Cooks, Deontay, or Judy for a wide receiver 2 in PPR?
I'm going to go Judy.
Let's go. Christian Nova, half PPR, pick 2, Davis, Fournette, Edmonds, T. Higgins.
I'm going to go Edmonds and Fournette.
Edmonds and Davis for me. Noel, Adrian Peterson, James White, Gus Edwards, Ryan Nall in a full PPR.
This is where we're at. This is where we are at with asking about Ryan Nall. So I'm trying to think, who else could be out there? Is there anybody else out there, Noel?
I remember this. Noel has this problem. There has because we.
Miller. Is Lamar Miller available?
You're gonna do that.
Or is Cordell Patterson available? All three, because this is what I would do. I would drop Adrian Peterson, I would drop Ryan Nall, and I would pick up either Cordell Patterson and Lamar Miller, because there's a strong chance that Lamar Miller actually gets activated tomorrow. He's the only running back that they have on that roster that you could consider actually them running out there for an entire game. Minnesota's terrible against the run. I know that Cordell Patterson said that he's the next man up. But I don't necessarily buy that. But I'm not 100% sure if they're going to activate Lamar Miller or not. If they do, I would probably start Lamar Miller of the group. If not, I think go James White.
Yeah, James White for me there as well. Corey wants to know, do you single or max entry?
So I used to do a lot of MME, and I used to do a lot of play in like the higher fields tournaments, but I don't anymore. I've pretty much reduced it down to where I basically play in nothing more than 20 maxes. And what I've found is depending on where you feel comfortable at your skill level, I think playing higher up in the terms of the entry, you have a much better shot of doing well. And you're getting a better return on your investment anyway. So I've been playing more in the $12, the $27, the $33, and I've also, I do the $8, the $5 single or the 3 entry maxes, and the $12 single entry, like stuff like that is where I go more now because I feel like the reward is way better.
Double V literally out here flexing on all of us. Are you going Henderson or Ayuk in the flex?
Ayuk.
Agreed.
PS5, PS, PlayStation for me all day. Yeah, I've never owned an Xbox. I've played it a few times, but I've always been a PlayStation guy going all the way back to the PS2. And I'm like, it's tough for me this year because like I'm like, I really wanted the PS5 because I have the PS4. But then there's this other part of that's like, should I buy a brand new computer, like a gaming computer to use for this, to be able to edit videos faster and to be able to do more and take on more. So I've kind of went back and forth on that. So
yeah, I can't give a take on that one. Trey S choose 2 full PPR: Swift, Fournette, Judy, DJ Moore, Marvin Jones.
I'm gonna go Swift and Judy.
Yeah, we are agreeing too much. I'm also there as well. Karn back in the chat. RB depth is thin. Chubb and Moss in the lineup for today. Am I good to go? Patterson and DJ on the bench. So obviously Chubb. Are you sitting Moss for CPAT or DJ?
I'm probably going to go. Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to go Chubb and Moss. But again, this is one of those situations what I was talking about earlier is really taking a look at their roster. And I would probably drop Cordero Patterson at this point because you're not going to play him. And I don't think he's going to be an option pass this week. And picking up those guys that I was just referring to. Like, Devontae Booker and guys like that who Biddy Snell who have, a much higher upside. If anything happens to any of those guys today, if Josh Jacobs goes down today, Devontae Booker is no matter what, the number one waiver ad this week and everybody's scrambling to get him. Like, and that is why I would take an opportunity today and make moves like that. Because if you're not going to play him and you're not going to need him past this week, then, I would just go ahead and prefer to drop him because David Montgomery will be back and probably as soon as next week.
Makes sense. I agree with that as well. Gio or Edmonds in the flex?
That's super close. I'm going to go Edmonds.
Agreed on that one as well. Do you see the Cowboys shutting down Zeke?
No, these players have too much worked into incentives and everything else. Like the NFLPA would step in if they're just shutting them down just to shut them down. Like it ain't going to happen. These players have, like I said, incentives and everything worked into their contract that they're trying to hit. So unless it's like a real injury or something like that he's not getting shut down.
Got back-to-back questions for the same thing. Big Ben or Wentz?
I'm going Wentz.
Agreed there. Onamu Gamer. Unama. Chubb, Hunt, Gallman, Moss, Edmonds sitting fat on running backs playing 3. Who you rolling with here? Obviously Chubb locking in. Moss and Edmonds?
Yeah.
Would you consider starting Herbert over Rodgers?
I wouldn't even consider it. I would do it.
Yes. Walito chiming in here. What do you think about Latavius?
Yes, he's another one. He's definitely like actually somebody had dropped him in my home league, and I picked him up this week. I picked him up, and I picked up Devontae Booker. I think both of them are players that I'm kind of just looking at as just if anything happens, the incumbent, Alvin Kamara comes down. We saw it last year with Alvin Kamara when Alvin Kamara went down. Latavius Murray had back-to-back 30-point fantasy games. So Latavius Murray, Devontae Booker, guys like that, Benny Snell are players that I would want to add.
For sure. We appreciate you guys checking in and asking us all these questions. Like Kev said, a couple minutes ago, this is what we enjoy doing. Enjoy interacting with all of you, and seeing a lot of the same names popping in, the new names for sure. So if you are new to the channel, if you appreciate anything that we've done for you so far, and you are not yet subscribed, please slam that subscribe button. Hit us with a thumbs up, and we hope you guys have a great week 10, and we will be back tonight actually with the first look at week 11 waivers. Get that dub. Talk to you guys soon.